Question 1. The risk matrix shows a high likelihood of cross-contamination from raw animal products to ready-to-eat foods due to inadequate separation of preparation areas and improper cleaning protocols. As the certified executive chef, what is the most effective and compliant course of action to mitigate this identified hazard? Option A. Purchase new cleaning supplies and expect that improved products will automatically resolve the cross-contamination issue. Option B. Implement a comprehensive food safety plan that includes dedicated preparation zones for raw and ready-to-eat foods, separate color-coded equipment for each zone, and a documented, rigorous cleaning and sanitizing schedule with regular verification checks. Option C. Instruct all kitchen staff to be more vigilant in washing their hands and to clean surfaces whenever they think of it, without formalizing the process. Option D. Conduct a brief staff meeting to emphasize the importance of cleanliness and ask them to double-check their work. The correct answer is B. Implement a comprehensive food safety plan that includes dedicated preparation zones for raw and ready-to-eat foods, separate color-coded equipment for each zone, and a documented, rigorous cleaning and sanitizing schedule with regular verification checks. Explanation. The risk matrix shows a high likelihood of cross-contamination from raw animal products to ready-to-eat foods due to inadequate separation of preparation areas and improper cleaning protocols. This scenario is professionally challenging because it demands immediate and decisive action to mitigate a significant public health risk, balancing operational efficiency with strict adherence to sanitation standards. The executive chef must not only identify the problem, but also implement a sustainable solution that prevents recurrence, demonstrating leadership and a deep understanding of food safety principles. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it directly addresses the identified high-risk factors with a multi-pronged strategy. Implementing a dedicated raw product preparation station with separate cutting boards and utensils, coupled with a rigorous, documented cleaning and sanitizing schedule for all equipment and surfaces, aligns with the core principles of HACCP, hazard analysis and critical control points, and general food safety regulations. This proactive and systematic approach minimizes the opportunity for pathogen transfer, protects consumer health, and ensures compliance with established food safety standards, thereby safeguarding the establishment's reputation. An incorrect approach that involves merely increasing the frequency of general cleaning without addressing the root cause of cross-contamination is professionally unacceptable. This fails to meet regulatory requirements for specific control measures against identified hazards. It is ethically unsound as it prioritizes perceived convenience over demonstrable food safety, potentially exposing patrons to illness. Another incorrect approach, such as relying solely on staff verbal assurances of cleanliness without a verifiable system for monitoring and documentation, demonstrates a lack of due diligence and oversight. This violates the principle of accountability and creates a significant compliance gap, as regulatory bodies require evidence of effective food safety management systems. Furthermore, an approach that involves a superficial review of procedures without tangible changes to workflow or equipment is a failure to implement effective controls. This approach is a dereliction of the executive chef's responsibility to ensure a safe food environment, as it does not actively prevent the identified high-risk cross-contamination. Professionals should approach such situations by first thoroughly understanding the identified risks, as presented by the risk matrix. This involves a detailed assessment of current practices against established food safety guidelines and regulations. The decision-making process should then focus on implementing controls that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound, SMART. This includes identifying critical control points, establishing clear procedures, providing comprehensive staff training, and implementing a robust monitoring and verification system. Regular audits and a commitment to continuous improvement are essential to maintaining a consistently safe and sanitary kitchen environment. Question 2. Process analysis reveals that several popular menu items are exhibiting lower than average profit margins. As the certified executive chef, what is the most appropriate and ethically sound approach to address this situation, ensuring both financial viability and culinary integrity? Option A. Remove the underperforming popular items from the menu to streamline operations and focus on higher-margin dishes. Option B. Reduce the portion sizes of these popular items to decrease ingredient expenditure per serving. Option C. Immediately increase the prices of all menu items by a fixed percentage to offset the perceived revenue shortfall. Option D. Conduct a detailed review of the recipes for these items, exploring opportunities to substitute ingredients with more cost-effective alternatives without compromising quality, and analyze preparation methods for potential efficiencies. The correct answer is D. Conduct a detailed review of the recipes for these items, exploring opportunities to substitute ingredients with more cost-effective alternatives without compromising quality, and analyze preparation methods for potential efficiencies. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge for an executive chef, balancing profitability with menu quality and guest satisfaction, all within the framework of established culinary standards and potential regulatory guidelines for food cost reporting and menu accuracy. The chef must analyze menu item performance not just on paper, but also considering operational realities and the impact on the overall dining experience. The challenge lies in identifying underperforming items without compromising the restaurant's reputation or violating any implicit or explicit agreements with suppliers or customers regarding menu descriptions and pricing. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a comprehensive review of menu item profitability, considering not only direct food costs, but also potential waste, preparation complexity, and perceived value by the customer. This aligns with best professional practice for an executive chef, who is responsible for the financial health of the kitchen while maintaining culinary integrity. By focusing on items with consistently low profit margins and high ingredient costs, the chef can identify opportunities for strategic adjustments. This might include recipe modification to utilize less expensive but equally high-quality ingredients, portion control refinement, or even menu engineering to highlight more profitable items. This proactive and data-informed approach ensures that menu decisions are grounded in both financial prudence and culinary excellence, reflecting a commitment to responsible resource management and customer value, which are implicit ethical considerations in professional culinary practice. Incorrect approaches analysis. One incorrect approach is to immediately remove any menu item that shows a lower than average profit margin. This fails to consider factors like customer demand, signature status of the dish, or potential for cost reduction through operational efficiencies. Such a hasty decision could alienate loyal customers and negatively impact the restaurant's brand identity, representing a failure in strategic menu management and customer relationship understanding. Another incorrect approach is to simply increase the price of all menu items across the board. This is a blunt instrument that does not address the root cause of low profitability for specific dishes. It can lead to customer dissatisfaction, perceived unfairness, and a decline in sales volume, demonstrating a lack of nuanced analysis and a disregard for market sensitivity. A third incorrect approach is to focus solely on reducing ingredient quality to lower food costs. While this might superficially improve profit margins, it directly compromises the culinary integrity of the dishes and the overall dining experience. This is a significant ethical failure, as it deceives customers about the quality they are paying for and damages the restaurant's reputation, violating the implicit trust between the establishment and its patrons. Professional reasoning. An executive chef should approach menu costing and analysis with a systematic and holistic mindset. The process begins with accurate tracking of all ingredient costs and preparation times. This data should then be cross-referenced with sales data to understand item popularity. The chef must then analyze profit margins for each item, identifying outliers. The next step involves investigating the reasons for low profitability, considering factors such as ingredient sourcing, preparation efficiency, portion control, and customer perception. Based on this analysis, strategic decisions can be made, which may include recipe adjustments, supplier negotiations, operational improvements, or targeted price modifications. The ultimate goal is to create a menu that is both financially sustainable and delivers exceptional value and quality to the customer, upholding the highest professional standards. Question 3. During the evaluation of a new menu proposal for a high-end restaurant, what approach best balances the principles of seasonality, cost-effectiveness, and customer preferences while adhering to the ethical standards expected of a certified executive chef? Option A. Design a menu that emphasizes unique and exotic ingredients to create a sense of luxury, with less emphasis on seasonal availability or the overall cost-effectiveness of each dish. Option B. Develop a menu that prominently features seasonal ingredients and diverse flavor profiles, with a careful consideration of ingredient costs and sourcing to ensure profitability and customer satisfaction. Option C. Focus exclusively on incorporating the most requested dishes by customers, sourcing ingredients regardless of seasonality or cost to meet immediate demand. Option D. Prioritize dishes featuring readily available, cost-effective ingredients that are consistently popular with the existing customer base, even if they do not fully reflect seasonal availability. The correct answer is D. Prioritize dishes featuring readily available, cost-effective ingredients that are consistently popular with the existing customer base, even if they do not fully reflect seasonal availability. Explanation: this scenario presents a professional challenge for an executive chef because it requires balancing multiple, often competing, objectives within the constraints of a specific regulatory framework. The core difficulty lies in ensuring that menu planning not only meets customer desires and operational efficiency, but also adheres to the principles and guidelines relevant to the Certified Executive Chef (CEC) designation, which implicitly includes ethical considerations around responsible sourcing, fair pricing, and accurate representation of offerings. The need to consider seasonality, cost-effectiveness, and customer preferences simultaneously demands a nuanced approach that avoids prioritizing one factor to the detriment of others. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it demonstrates a holistic understanding of menu engineering within the context of the CEC's responsibilities. It acknowledges that a successful menu is not merely a list of dishes, but a strategic tool that impacts profitability, customer satisfaction, and the establishment's reputation. Adhering to seasonality ensures freshness, supports local economies where applicable, and often leads to better cost-effectiveness due to natural abundance. Balancing these with customer preferences, gathered through feedback and observation, and a keen eye on cost-effectiveness, ensures a sustainable and appealing menu. This approach aligns with the ethical imperative of providing value to the customer while maintaining the financial health of the operation, a cornerstone of professional culinary leadership. An incorrect approach that solely focuses on customer preferences without regard for seasonality or cost-effectiveness would be professionally unacceptable. This could lead to menu items that are prohibitively expensive, difficult to source consistently, or of lower quality due to out-of-season ingredients, ultimately failing to deliver on value and potentially damaging the establishment's reputation. Ethically, it could be seen as misleading if customers are led to believe they are receiving the best possible product at a fair price, when this is not the case. Another incorrect approach that prioritizes cost-effectiveness above all else, potentially by using lower quality or out-of-season ingredients, would also be professionally unacceptable. This disregards the customer's expectation of quality and can lead to dissatisfaction and a perception of poor value. From a regulatory or ethical standpoint, it could border on misrepresentation if the menu does not accurately reflect the ingredients used or their quality. A third incorrect approach that rigidly adheres to a fixed menu regardless of seasonal availability or evolving customer tastes would be professionally unsound. This demonstrates a lack of adaptability and foresight, leading to stale offerings, potential waste of ingredients, and missed opportunities to capitalize on seasonal trends or customer feedback. Fails to embrace the dynamic nature of the culinary industry and the importance of continuous improvement. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a systematic evaluation of menu components against key criteria: customer appeal, ingredient availability, seasonality, sourcing reliability, cost of goods, labor requirements, and alignment with the establishment's brand and concept. This requires ongoing market research, supplier relationship management, and a willingness to adapt and innovate. The executive chef must act as a strategic manager, integrating culinary artistry with business acumen and ethical considerations. Question 4. The performance metrics show a recurring issue with the holding temperature of a prepared soup at critical control point, CCP, during a large-scale catering event, with several instances of the temperature dipping below the required 135 degrees F, 57, 2 degrees C, for hot holding. The executive chef needs to decide on the immediate and long-term actions to address this. Which of the following represents the most appropriate and compliant course of action? Option A. Focus on retraining the specific staff member responsible for monitoring the soup's temperature, as this appears to be an individual performance issue, and proceed with serving the remaining soup. Option B. Immediately discard all soup that has been held at a temperature below the critical limit. Thoroughly investigate the cause of the temperature fluctuations. Implement corrective actions to prevent recurrence and meticulously document all steps taken. Option C. Adjust the holding equipment's thermostat to a slightly higher setting for future batches, and instruct the kitchen staff to be more vigilant without further investigation into the specific instances. Option D. Dispose of the soup that fell below the critical limit, and assume the issue was an isolated incident due to the high volume of service, without further investigation or documentation. Correct answer is B. Immediately discard all soup that has been held at a temperature below the critical limit. Thoroughly investigate the cause of the temperature fluctuations. Implement corrective actions to prevent recurrence, and meticulously document all steps taken. Explanation. This scenario presents a common challenge in a high-volume catering operation, maintaining rigorous food safety standards while under pressure to meet demanding service schedules. The core difficulty lies in balancing efficiency with the non-negotiable requirements of a hacked system, particularly when deviations occur. Careful judgment is required to ensure that corrective actions are not merely superficial, but genuinely address the root cause of a hazard, thereby preventing recurrence and protecting public health. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it directly aligns with the fundamental principles of HACCP and the regulatory framework governing food safety in the United States, as overseen by agencies like the FDA and USDA. Specifically, it embodies the principle of established corrective actions by ensuring that any deviation from a critical control point, CCP, is not only identified, but also thoroughly investigated to determine the cause and implement effective, documented remedies. This proactive and systematic approach prevents the recurrence of the hazard, maintains the integrity of the food product, and demonstrates due diligence in compliance with food safety regulations. It prioritizes consumer safety above all else, which is the ethical and legal imperative for any food service establishment. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on immediate product disposal without investigating the root cause fails to address the underlying systemic issue. This is a regulatory failure because it bypasses the critical step of hazard analysis and corrective action, which is essential for a functional hack plan. Ethically, it demonstrates a lack of commitment to preventing future incidents and protecting consumers. Another incorrect approach that involves simply adjusting the temperature setting without documenting the deviation or investigating its cause is also a significant regulatory and ethical failure. HACCP requires thorough documentation of all CCP monitoring, deviations, and corrective actions. Failing to document and investigate means that the operation cannot prove compliance, and the root cause of the temperature fluctuation remains unknown, leaving the potential for future food safety breaches. This approach prioritizes expediency over accountability and safety. A third incorrect approach that involves blaming a specific staff member without a systemic investigation is ethically problematic and potentially a regulatory oversight. While individual performance is important, a true hack investigation seeks to understand if the deviation was due to inadequate training, equipment malfunction, or procedural flaws. Focusing solely on blame without a comprehensive analysis prevents the implementation of effective, long-term solutions and can foster a negative work environment, hindering overall food safety culture. The professional reasoning process for similar situations should involve a systematic step-by-step approach. First, immediately identify and isolate any potentially compromised product. Second, thoroughly investigate the deviation. What happened, when, where, and why. This involves reviewing CCP monitoring records, interviewing staff, and examining equipment. Third, determine the root cause of the deviation. Fourth, implement appropriate corrective actions to address the root cause and prevent recurrence. Fifth, document all steps taken, including the investigation, corrective actions, and any retraining or procedural changes. Finally, reevaluate the effectiveness of the corrective actions and update the hack plan if necessary. This structured decision-making process ensures that food safety is maintained, regulatory compliance is achieved, and consumer trust is preserved. Question 5. Cost-benefit analysis shows that implementing a new, less expensive ingredient sourcing strategy could significantly reduce food costs. As a certified executive chef, how should you approach this situation to uphold professional standards and ensure long-term business success? Option A. Reject the new sourcing strategy outright. citing a commitment to current suppliers and established quality, without exploring potential benefits or alternative solutions. Option B. Advocate for a phased implementation of the new sourcing strategy, beginning with less critical menu items, while simultaneously researching and testing alternative suppliers that meet quality and ethical benchmarks, and transparently communicating potential impacts to stakeholders. Option C. Immediately adopt the new, less expensive ingredient sourcing strategy across all menu items to maximize immediate cost savings and improve profit margins. Option D. Implement the new sourcing strategy for all menu items without further investigation, assuming that cost savings automatically equate to improved business outcomes. The correct answer is B. Advocate for a phased implementation of the new sourcing strategy, beginning with less critical menu items, while simultaneously researching and testing alternative suppliers that meet quality and ethical benchmarks, and transparently communicating potential impacts to stakeholders. Explanation: this scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent tension between maintaining high culinary standards, a core tenet of the Certified Executive Chef (CEC) designation, and the financial pressures of a business. The CEC certification signifies a commitment to excellence, professionalism, and adherence to industry best practices, which includes responsible sourcing and ethical treatment of ingredients and staff. Balancing these ideals with the need for profitability requires astute judgment and a deep understanding of stakeholder expectations. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes the long-term reputation and integrity of the establishment and the chef's professional standing, aligning with the ethical underpinnings of the CEC certification. It acknowledges that while cost savings are important, they should not come at the expense of quality, sustainability, or fair labor practices, which are often implicitly or explicitly part of professional culinary standards and can impact customer trust and employee morale. This approach fosters a culture of responsibility and excellence. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on immediate cost reduction by compromising ingredient quality or sourcing from unethical suppliers would represent a regulatory and ethical failure. This could lead to a decline in customer satisfaction, damage to the brand's reputation, and potential violations of food safety or labor laws. Even if not explicitly detailed in the CEC syllabus, these are foundational to professional conduct. Another incorrect approach that neglects staff well-being in pursuit of cost savings, such as reducing essential training or benefits, undermines the professional development and morale of the culinary team, which is counterproductive to achieving and maintaining high standards of culinary execution. This also risks violating labor regulations and ethical employment practices. Professionals should employ a decision-making framework that begins with clearly defining the objectives, considering all stakeholder perspectives, customers, staff, owners, suppliers, and evaluating potential solutions against established professional standards and ethical guidelines. This involves seeking innovative solutions that achieve cost efficiencies without sacrificing core values, such as negotiating better supplier contracts, optimizing inventory management, or exploring cost-effective yet high-quality ingredient alternatives, rather than making direct compromises on quality or ethics. Question 6. The evaluation methodology shows that a new menu item, a complex seafood dish with multiple preparation steps, has been introduced. To optimize kitchen workflow and reduce labor costs, the sous chef suggests streamlining the process by reducing the frequency of temperature checks during the cooking phase and relying on visual cues for doneness, arguing that experienced chefs can accurately gauge the safety of the seafood. As the certified executive chef, what is the most appropriate approach to address this suggestion while ensuring compliance with food safety regulations and maintaining operational efficiency? Option A. Accept the sous chef's suggestion to reduce temperature checks, trusting the experience of the culinary team to ensure food safety, and focus on visual indicators for doneness to maintain workflow efficiency. Option B. Propose a compromise where temperature checks are performed only at the beginning and end of the cooking process, relying on visual cues and staff intuition for the intermediate stages to balance safety and efficiency. Option C. Conduct a thorough hazard analysis for the new seafood dish, identify critical control points for cooking temperatures, establish clear critical limits, and implement a documented monitoring system, potentially adjusting workflow to accommodate necessary checks without compromising safety. Option D. Implement the reduced temperature checks, but instruct staff to be extra vigilant with visual cues, assuming this will compensate for the decreased monitoring, and document this modified procedure as a cost-saving measure. The correct answer is C. Conduct a thorough hazard analysis for the new seafood dish. Identify critical control points for cooking temperatures, establish clear critical limits, and implement a documented monitoring system, potentially adjusting workflow to accommodate necessary checks without compromising safety. Explanation: this scenario is professionally challenging because it requires an executive chef to balance operational efficiency with stringent food safety regulations to prevent foodborne illnesses. The pressure to maintain high service standards and profitability can sometimes create a conflict with the meticulous, often time-consuming, processes required for robust food safety. Careful judgment is required to ensure that cost-saving measures do not compromise the health and safety of patrons, which carries significant legal and reputational risk. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes a proactive, systematic, and documented method for hazard identification and control, directly aligning with the principles of HACCP, hazard analysis and critical control points, which is a cornerstone of food safety regulation in the U.S. This approach involves identifying potential hazards at each stage of food preparation, determining critical control points, CCP, where these hazards can be prevented, establishing critical limits, monitoring these limits, implementing corrective actions when deviations occur, verifying that the system is working, and maintaining records. This comprehensive strategy ensures continuous improvement and accountability, minimizing the risk of foodborne illness outbreaks and demonstrating due diligence in compliance with regulations such as those enforced by the FDA Food Code. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on reactive measures, such as only addressing issues when they are reported or observed, represents a significant regulatory and ethical failure. This reactive stance fails to meet the preventative requirements of food safety laws, which mandate proactive hazard identification and control. Ethically, it demonstrates a disregard for the well-being of consumers. Another incorrect approach that relies on anecdotal evidence or the experience of long-term staff without formal documentation or validation is also a failure. While experience is valuable, it is not a substitute for a systematic, evidence-based approach required by regulations. This can lead to overlooking critical hazards or failing to implement consistent controls, creating a high risk of non-compliance and potential outbreaks. An approach that prioritizes cost reduction over essential safety protocols, such as using cheaper, less effective cleaning agents or skipping critical temperature checks, is a direct violation of food safety regulations and an egregious ethical breach. It prioritizes financial gain over public health, leading to severe legal penalties and reputational damage. Professionals should employ a decision-making framework that begins with a thorough understanding of applicable food safety regulations, e.g., the FDA Food Code in the U.S. This framework involves conducting a comprehensive hazard analysis for all food items and processes, establishing clear CCPs with measurable critical limits, implementing robust monitoring procedures, and developing effective corrective actions. Regular training for all staff on food safety protocols, consistent record keeping, and periodic internal audits are crucial for verification and continuous improvement. When faced with operational pressures, the decision-making process must always revert to the established food safety plan, ensuring that no compromise is made on critical control points, as the potential consequences of failure, illness, legal action, and loss of trust far outweigh any short-term operational or financial benefits. Question 7. Stakeholder feedback indicates a potential issue with the temperature control of a specific batch of pre-prepared ingredients stored in the walk-in cooler. The executive chef is aware that a minor equipment malfunction was reported earlier in the day, but was deemed low priority by maintenance. Given the upcoming peak service period and the cost implications of discarding ingredients, what is the most appropriate immediate course of action for the executive chef to ensure food safety? Option A. Temporarily adjust the menu to exclude dishes that heavily rely on the suspect ingredients, but proceed with using the remaining ingredients as normal to avoid significant service disruption and waste. Option B. Immediately halt the use of the affected ingredients, isolate them, and initiate a thorough investigation into their temperature history and potential for bacterial growth, while simultaneously contacting maintenance for an urgent assessment of the equipment. Option C. Continue using the ingredients as planned, but instruct kitchen staff to visually inspect them more closely before use and to cook them at a slightly higher temperature to compensate for any potential temperature fluctuations. Option D. Delegate the responsibility of checking the ingredient temperatures to the most junior kitchen staff member, with instructions to report back if any obvious spoilage is detected, allowing the executive chef to focus on managing service. The correct answer is B. Immediately halt the use of the affected ingredients, isolate them, and initiate a thorough investigation into their temperature history and potential for bacterial growth, while simultaneously contacting maintenance for an urgent assessment of the equipment. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to conflicting stakeholder priorities and the critical need to maintain food safety standards. The executive chef must balance operational efficiency and cost-effectiveness with the non-negotiable requirement of preventing foodborne illness, which has significant legal, financial, and reputational consequences. The chef's judgment is crucial in interpreting and applying food safety regulations to a real-world situation where immediate action might seem disruptive. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach prioritizes immediate, decisive action to address the identified risk. This aligns with the fundamental principles of food safety regulations, which mandate proactive measures to prevent contamination and illness. By halting service and initiating a thorough investigation and corrective action, the executive chef demonstrates adherence to the highest standards of due diligence and responsibility. This approach safeguards public health, protects the establishment from potential legal liabilities and reputational damage, and upholds the ethical obligation to serve safe food. It reflects a deep understanding of the absolute priority of food safety over other operational concerns. Incorrect approaches analysis. One incorrect approach involves downplaying the feedback and continuing service with minimal adjustments. This fails to acknowledge the potential severity of the reported issue and directly contravenes food safety regulations that require prompt investigation of any suspected contamination or unsafe practice. Ethically, it represents a dereliction of duty to protect consumers. Another incorrect approach is to address the issue superficially without a comprehensive investigation. This might involve a quick visual check or a minor adjustment without understanding the root cause. This approach is insufficient because food safety risks can be hidden or systemic. It fails to meet the regulatory requirement for thoroughness and could lead to recurring problems, demonstrating a lack of professional diligence. A third incorrect approach is to blame the staff without a proper investigation. While staff training and adherence are critical, assuming fault without evidence is unprofessional and can create a negative work environment. More importantly, it distracts from identifying and rectifying the actual food safety hazard, which could be due to equipment failure, improper storage, or other systemic issues, thus failing to address the core problem and potentially violating regulatory requirements for root cause analysis. Professional reasoning. Professionals in food service must adopt a risk-based decision-making framework. When stakeholder feedback, particularly concerning food safety, is received, the immediate priority is to assess the potential risk to public health. This involves a systematic approach. 1. Acknowledge and document the feedback. 2. Immediately investigate the reported concern to determine its validity and severity. 3. If a credible risk is identified, take decisive action to mitigate that risk, which may include halting service, isolating affected products, and initiating corrective actions. 4. Conduct a thorough root cause analysis to prevent recurrence. 5. Implement and document corrective actions and retraining as necessary. 6. Communicate findings and actions to relevant stakeholders. This framework ensures that food safety remains the paramount concern, aligning with regulatory mandates and ethical responsibilities. Question 8. Compliance review shows a need to refine menu descriptions to enhance appeal while adhering to professional standards. Which of the following approaches to menu item descriptions best balances customer engagement with accuracy and transparency? Option A. Using vague or ambiguous phrasing to allow for flexibility in ingredient sourcing or preparation, thereby avoiding commitment to specific details. Option B. Omitting any mention of potential allergens or specific preparation details that might be perceived as less appealing, focusing solely on the positive sensory aspects of the dish. Option C. Employing descriptive language that highlights key ingredients, primary cooking methods, and distinct flavor profiles, ensuring these descriptions are factually accurate and verifiable. Option D. Utilizing highly evocative and superlative terms such as legendary, unforgettable, or exquisite to create an impression of unparalleled quality and experience. The correct answer is C. Employing descriptive language that highlights key ingredients, primary cooking methods, and distinct flavor profiles, ensuring these descriptions are factually accurate and verifiable. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge in balancing creative menu descriptions with the regulatory requirement for accuracy and transparency, particularly within the context of food labeling and advertising standards. The certified executive chef, CEC, must ensure that menu language does not mislead consumers about the ingredients, preparation methods, or origin of dishes, which could lead to customer dissatisfaction, reputational damage, and potential legal repercussions. Careful judgment is required to craft appealing descriptions that are both evocative and factually correct. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes truthful and accurate representation of menu items. This aligns with general principles of fair advertising and consumer protection, which are implicitly expected of all food service professionals, including CECs. By focusing on verifiable attributes like key ingredients, cooking techniques, and flavor profiles without exaggeration or unsubstantiated claims, the chef upholds ethical standards and builds trust with patrons. This approach avoids any potential misinterpretation or deception, ensuring that customers make informed choices. An incorrect approach that uses hyperbole or unsubstantiated claims, such as world's best or secret family recipe, without verifiable evidence, fails to meet the standard of truthful advertising. This can be considered an ethical failure, as it misleads consumers. Another incorrect approach that omits key allergens or preparation methods that might be important for dietary restrictions or preferences is also an ethical failure, as it can lead to health risks for consumers and a breach of duty of care. Finally, an approach that uses vague or ambiguous language to mask the true nature or quality of an ingredient or dish is deceptive and undermines consumer trust, representing a significant ethical lapse. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a critical evaluation of every descriptive word. Chefs should ask themselves, is this statement factually verifiable? Could this statement be misinterpreted by a customer? Does this description accurately reflect the dishes served? Are there any potential health or dietary implications that need to be implicitly or explicitly communicated? By adhering to a principle of honest and transparent communication, CECs can create menus that are both appealing and ethically sound. Question 9. Implementation of a new menu requiring extended preparation times necessitates a review of current kitchen staffing schedules. Which of the following approaches best ensures regulatory compliance and staff well-being while maintaining operational efficiency? Option A. Extending the daily shifts of existing staff to accommodate the new menu's preparation demands, assuming they can manage the workload. Option B. Implementing a system where staff are expected to work overtime as needed to meet preparation deadlines, with compensation provided only after the overtime hours are approved retrospectively. Option C. Reducing the number of scheduled breaks during shifts to maximize productive time for menu preparation. Option D. Adjusting schedules to ensure no staff member exceeds the maximum legally permissible weekly working hours and incorporates mandatory rest breaks between shifts, even if it requires hiring additional part-time staff or adjusting service times. The correct answer is D. Adjusting schedules to ensure no staff member exceeds the maximum legally permissible weekly working hours and incorporates mandatory rest breaks between shifts, even if it requires hiring additional part-time staff or adjusting service times. Explanation. This scenario presents a common challenge for executive chefs, balancing operational needs with legal and ethical obligations regarding staff working hours and rest periods. The professional challenge lies in ensuring adequate kitchen coverage for service demands while strictly adhering to labor laws and industry best practices to prevent staff burnout, maintain morale, and ensure food safety. Careful judgment is required to interpret and apply regulations to dynamic operational realities. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes compliance with labor laws, specifically those governing working hours, overtime, and mandatory rest breaks. This proactive stance minimizes legal risks, fosters a positive work environment, and supports staff well-being, which directly impacts productivity and retention. Adhering to these regulations is not just a legal requirement but an ethical imperative for responsible management. Incorrect approach that involves consistently scheduling staff beyond legally permissible hours without proper compensation or rest periods constitutes a direct violation of labor laws. This can lead to significant legal penalties, including fines and lawsuits, and damages the establishment's reputation. Ethically, it demonstrates a disregard for employee welfare, potentially leading to increased errors, accidents, and a high turnover rate. Another incorrect approach, such as neglecting to account for statutory rest periods between shifts, creates a high risk of staff fatigue. This fatigue can compromise judgment, leading to food safety lapses, increased accidents in a high-risk kitchen environment, and a decline in service quality. It also violates labor regulations designed to protect employee health and safety. Finally, an approach that fails to establish clear procedures for requesting time off or managing shift changes can lead to operational chaos and understaffing. While not always a direct legal violation in itself, it creates an environment where compliance with other labor laws, like ensuring adequate coverage without excessive overtime, becomes difficult, and it can foster resentment and dissatisfaction among staff, impacting overall team cohesion and performance. The professional reasoning process for similar situations should involve a thorough understanding of all applicable labor laws and collective bargaining agreements. It requires proactive planning, utilizing scheduling software that can flag potential violations, and maintaining open communication with staff regarding their availability and concerns. When operational demands conflict with legal requirements, the priority must always be legal compliance and employee well-being, with adjustments made to service expectations or staffing levels accordingly. Question 10. Benchmark analysis indicates that a significant portion of guest complaints and internal quality control issues stem from inconsistencies in dish preparation. As the certified executive chef, you are tasked with optimizing the recipe standardization process to ensure consistent quality and adherence to established culinary benchmarks. Which of the following approaches best aligns with process optimization principles for creating and maintaining standardized recipes? Option A. Rely solely on the memory and experience of senior kitchen staff to guide recipe preparation, without formal documentation or standardized procedures for new team members. Option B. Mandate strict adherence to existing recipes with no deviation, and penalize any staff member who deviates, regardless of circumstances or potential for improvement. Option C. Introduce frequent, minor changes to recipes on a weekly basis to keep the team engaged and to reflect the latest culinary fads, without a formal review or documented rationale. Option D. Implement a formal, team-based review and refinement process for all standardized recipes, incorporating feedback from culinary staff, regular taste testing, and periodic updates based on ingredient availability and culinary trends. The correct answer is D. Implement a formal, team-based review and refinement process for all standardized recipes, incorporating feedback from culinary staff, regular taste testing, and periodic updates based on ingredient availability and culinary trends. Explanation. This scenario presents a common challenge in professional culinary operations, ensuring consistent quality and adherence to established standards across a diverse menu and team. A professional chef must balance the need for efficiency and predictability with the creative and adaptive nature of food preparation. The core of the challenge lies in implementing and maintaining recipe standardization in a way that is both effective and sustainable, without stifling innovation or alienating kitchen staff. Careful judgment is required to select an approach that optimizes processes while respecting the practical realities of a busy kitchen environment. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it directly addresses the principles of process optimization through a systematic and collaborative method. By involving the culinary team in the review and refinement of standardized recipes, it fosters buy-in and ensures that the recipes are practical and achievable in real-world kitchen conditions. This collaborative element is crucial for long-term adherence and continuous improvement. Furthermore, a structured review process, including regular updates and feedback mechanisms, aligns with the ethical obligation of a certified executive chef to maintain the highest standards of quality and safety, ensuring that all dishes meet established benchmarks for taste, presentation, and ingredient integrity. This proactive management of recipes directly contributes to operational efficiency and customer satisfaction. Key performance indicators for any executive chef. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on rigid, top-down implementation without team input fails to acknowledge the expertise and practical knowledge of the kitchen staff. This can lead to resentment, workarounds, and ultimately, a decline in adherence to the standardized recipes. Ethically, it can be seen as a failure to empower and respect the culinary team. Another incorrect approach that prioritizes frequent, arbitrary changes to recipes without a clear rationale or proper documentation undermines the very concept of standardization. This creates confusion, wastes resources, and can lead to inconsistent quality, violating the professional duty to maintain predictable standards. A third incorrect approach that relies on outdated or unverified recipes without incorporating feedback or new culinary techniques represents a failure to adapt and improve, potentially leading to a decline in product quality and competitiveness. This neglects the ongoing professional responsibility to stay current and optimize offerings. The professional reasoning process for similar situations should involve a cyclical approach. First, establish clear, well-documented standardized recipes. Second, train the team thoroughly on these recipes. Third, implement a robust feedback mechanism where staff can report challenges or suggest improvements. Fourth, conduct regular reviews of recipes based on this feedback, operational data, and culinary trends. Finally, update and recommunicate any changes effectively. This iterative process ensures that standardized recipes remain relevant, practical, and contribute to consistent quality and operational excellence. Question 11. The monitoring system demonstrates that the pastry section is falling behind schedule for mise-en-place preparation for the evening service, while simultaneously, a critical piece of equipment in the main kitchen has malfunctioned, and a supplier delivery is arriving earlier than expected. As the certified executive chef, how should you most efficiently manage your time and prioritize these competing demands? Option A. Delegate the equipment malfunction to the most experienced line cook. Prioritize the early supplier delivery by personally receiving it, and then assist the pastry section. Option B. Immediately address the equipment malfunction. Delegate the supplier delivery to a junior cook, and then assess the pastry section's needs to reallocate resources if necessary. Option C. Personally oversee the early supplier delivery, then attempt to fix the equipment malfunction yourself. And finally, check on the pastry section. Option D. Focus solely on expediting the pastry section's mise-en-place to ensure all dishes are ready for service, as this directly impacts customer orders. The correct answer is B. Immediately address the equipment malfunction, delegate the supplier delivery to a junior cook, and then assess the pastry section's needs to reallocate resources if necessary. Explanation. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires an executive chef to balance immediate operational demands with long-term strategic planning, all while ensuring compliance with established culinary standards and potentially food safety regulations. So this question focuses on time management. The pressure of service, unexpected issues, and the need to maintain quality create a dynamic environment where efficient time management is paramount. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it involves a proactive and structured method of task prioritization that considers the impact on both the immediate service and the overall kitchen operation. This aligns with the ethical responsibility of an executive chef to lead effectively, ensure smooth operations, and foster a productive work environment. By delegating appropriately and focusing on critical path items, the chef maximizes efficiency and minimizes disruption, upholding the reputation and standards of the establishment. This proactive stance is implicitly supported by general professional guidelines for leadership and operational management within the culinary industry, emphasizing foresight and resourcefulness. An incorrect approach that solely focuses on immediate, visible tasks without considering their downstream impact or delegating effectively would be professionally unacceptable. This could lead to bottlenecks, decreased quality, and staff burnout, violating the implicit duty of care an executive chef has towards their team and the establishment's operational integrity. Another incorrect approach might be to ignore less urgent but strategically important tasks, such as inventory management or menu development, in favor of immediate service needs. This demonstrates a lack of foresight and can lead to future operational inefficiencies and potential compliance issues related to stock rotation or menu planning, which, while not directly regulatory in this context, are core to professional kitchen management. Failing to delegate or empower junior staff, even when time is tight, represents a failure in leadership and mentorship, hindering team development and overall kitchen efficiency. Professionals should employ a decision-making framework that involves 1. Assessing all incoming tasks and their urgency and importance. 2. Identifying critical path activities that directly impact service delivery or key operational outcomes. 3. Evaluating the feasibility of delegation for specific tasks based on staff skill and availability. 4. Allocating personal time to high-impact, non-delegible tasks. 5. Regularly reviewing and adjusting priorities as new information or challenges arise. This systematic approach ensures that both immediate needs and long-term objectives are addressed effectively. Question 12. Risk assessment procedures indicate a need to prepare a large volume of raw poultry and a variety of fresh vegetables for immediate service. The executive chef is overseeing the preparation process and observes the following practices occurring simultaneously in the prep area: raw chicken being portioned on a cutting board, and pre-washed salad greens being placed in a bowl. What is the most critical immediate action the executive chef must take to prevent a food safety violation? Option A. Ensure the cutting board and utensils used for the raw chicken are thoroughly washed and sanitized before being used for any other food item, and that the raw chicken is stored below any ready-to-eat foods. Option B. Instruct staff to immediately rinse the raw chicken under running water to remove any surface bacteria before further preparation. Option C. Allow the current preparation to continue but ensure the salad greens are thoroughly rinsed again before serving. Option D. Have the staff immediately switch cutting boards, but allow the same knife to be used for both raw chicken and vegetables after a quick wipe down. Correct answer is A. Ensure the cutting board and utensils used for the raw chicken are thoroughly washed and sanitized before being used for any other food item, and that the raw chicken is stored below any ready-to-eat foods. Explanation: this scenario presents a common challenge in professional kitchens, balancing efficiency with the absolute necessity of food safety. The executive chef must make a critical decision that directly impacts the health and safety of patrons and the reputation of the establishment. The professional challenge lies in the potential for cross-contamination and the proliferation of foodborne pathogens if proper procedures are not rigorously followed, especially when dealing with high-risk ingredients like raw poultry. The correct approach, which involves segregating raw poultry from ready-to-eat items and ensuring thorough cleaning and sanitization, represents best professional practice because it directly adheres to fundamental food safety principles and regulatory requirements. Specifically, it aligns with the principles of hazard analysis and critical control points, HACP, and the guidelines set forth by regulatory bodies like the U.S. Food and Drug Administration (FDA) Food Code, which are the bedrock of food safety in the United States. These regulations mandate the prevention of cross-contamination as a critical control point to mitigate the risk of foodborne illness. Proper storage, e.g., bottom shelf of refrigeration, and preparation, e.g., dedicated cutting boards and utensils, are essential to prevent the transfer of harmful bacteria like Salmonella and Campylobacter from raw poultry to foods that will not be cooked further. An incorrect approach that involves storing raw poultry above ready-to-eat items is a direct violation of cross-contamination prevention protocols. This practice creates a high risk of raw juices dripping onto and contaminating items like salads, cooked meats, or desserts, which are often consumed without further cooking. This failure to prevent cross-contamination is a significant regulatory and ethical breach, potentially leading to severe foodborne illness outbreaks. Another incorrect approach, such as using the same cutting board and knife for raw poultry, and then immediately for vegetables without thorough washing and sanitizing, also represents a critical failure in preventing cross-contamination. This oversight allows bacteria from the raw poultry to transfer to the vegetables, which may be served raw or lightly cooked, posing a serious health risk. Ethically, this demonstrates a disregard for the well-being of the consumer. A third incorrect approach, such as simply rinsing raw poultry before preparation without proper sanitization of surfaces and utensils, is insufficient. Rinsing can actually spread bacteria around the kitchen. The critical step is not just rinsing, but the subsequent comprehensive cleaning and sanitizing of all contact surfaces and equipment to eliminate any residual pathogens. The professional decision-making process for such situations should involve a systematic risk assessment. This begins with identifying potential hazards, e.g., bacterial contamination from raw poultry. Next, critical control points are identified, e.g., storage, preparation, cooking. Then control measures are implemented, e.g., proper storage, dedicated equipment, thorough cleaning and sanitizing. Finally, monitoring and verification procedures are established to ensure these controls are effective. This proactive, systematic approach, grounded in regulatory compliance and ethical responsibility, is crucial for maintaining a safe food service operation. Question 13. Investigation of menu item performance data reveals that a significant portion of the menu consists of items that are either highly popular but low in profit margin, or highly profitable but rarely ordered. As the certified executive chef, what is the most strategic approach to optimize the menu's overall profitability and customer appeal, adhering to best practices in menu engineering? Option A. Implement a uniform price increase across all menu items that are identified as having low sales volume, aiming to boost overall revenue. Option B. Immediately remove all menu items that are currently the least profitable, regardless of their sales volume or customer demand. Option C. Focus on identifying and promoting star items, strategically adjusting puzzle items to increase their profitability without sacrificing popularity, and carefully evaluating plow horse and dog items for potential removal or re-engineering. Option D. Prioritize the removal of all menu items that are ordered infrequently, focusing on streamlining the menu to only include the most frequently requested dishes. The correct answer is C. Focus on identifying and promoting star items, strategically adjusting puzzle items to increase their profitability without sacrificing popularity, and carefully evaluating plow horse and dog items for potential removal or re-engineering. Explanation. This scenario presents a common challenge in culinary management, balancing profitability with customer satisfaction when faced with menu item performance data. The professional challenge lies in interpreting menu engineering principles to make strategic decisions that enhance the overall success of the establishment without alienating the customer base or compromising quality. Careful judgment is required to avoid making hasty decisions based on incomplete analysis or solely on financial metrics. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it aligns with the core tenets of menu engineering as applied within the Certified Executive Chef (CEC) framework. This involves a holistic view of menu item performance, considering both their contribution to profit stars and plow horses and their popularity stars and puzzles. By identifying items that are both profitable and popular stars for promotion, and those that are profitable but unpopular plow horses for potential repositioning or subtle modification, the executive chef can optimize the menu. Similarly, analyzing popular but less profitable items, puzzles, allows for strategies to increase their profitability without sacrificing demand, and identifying unprofitable and unpopular items, dogs, for removal is a direct path to improving overall menu efficiency. This systematic approach directly supports the financial health of the operation while respecting customer preferences, a key ethical responsibility of an executive chef. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on removing the least profitable items, regardless of their popularity, fails to acknowledge the customer's role in driving traffic and revenue. This could lead to the removal of items that, while individually less profitable, contribute to the overall appeal and draw of the menu, potentially impacting sales of other items. Ethically, this approach could be seen as disregarding customer loyalty and established preferences, which can erode trust and satisfaction. Another incorrect approach that prioritizes removing the least popular items without considering their profitability overlooks the potential for these items to contribute to the overall financial success of the menu. Some less popular items might be highly profitable, and their removal could negatively impact the bottom line. This approach demonstrates a lack of comprehensive menu analysis and could lead to missed opportunities for profit generation. A third incorrect approach that suggests simply increasing prices on all underperforming items ignores the delicate balance between price and perceived value. While price adjustments can impact profitability, a blanket increase without considering market demand, competitor pricing, or the item's perceived quality can lead to decreased sales volume and customer dissatisfaction, ultimately harming profitability. This approach lacks strategic depth and fails to consider the nuanced factors influencing customer purchasing decisions. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a structured approach. 1. Data collection and analysis. Gather sales data, volume and cost data, food cost, labor cost for each menu item. 2. Categorization. Classify each item using the menu engineering matrix stars, plow horses, puzzles, dogs, based on its profitability and popularity. 3. Strategic planning. Develop specific strategies for each category. Stars, promote and maintain. Plow horses. Consider subtle price increases, portion adjustments, or ingredient enhancements to boost profitability. Puzzles. Explore ways to increase their profitability, such as ingredient cost reduction or slight price adjustments, without significantly impacting popularity. Dogs. Remove or significantly re-engineer. 4. Implementation and monitoring. Implement the chosen strategies and continuously monitor their impact on sales, profitability, and customer feedback. 5. Iteration. Regularly revisit the menu engineering process to adapt to changing market conditions and customer preferences. Question 14. What factors determine the most effective menu pricing strategies for an executive chef, considering the need to balance profitability with market competitiveness and customer perception of value? Option A. Matching competitor prices exactly without considering the establishment's unique cost structure or value proposition. Option B. Prioritizing maximum profit margins by setting prices significantly above food costs without regard for market competition or customer willingness to pay. Option C. A comprehensive analysis of food costs, labor expenses, overhead, competitor pricing, and the perceived value of the dining experience. Option D. Setting prices based solely on the highest perceived luxury of ingredients used, regardless of actual cost or market demand. Correct answer is C. A comprehensive analysis of food costs, labor expenses, overhead, competitor pricing, and the perceived value of the dining experience. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge for an executive chef in determining menu pricing strategies. The core difficulty lies in balancing the financial viability of the establishment with customer perception and market realities, all while adhering to ethical business practices and potentially industry-specific guidelines for fair pricing. A successful executive chef must possess a nuanced understanding of cost structures, competitive landscapes, and the psychological aspects of value perception to set prices that are both profitable and appealing to guests. The correct approach emphasizes a holistic assessment of menu pricing. This involves a thorough understanding of food costs, labor costs, and overheads to establish a baseline for profitability. Simultaneously, it requires diligent market research to understand competitor pricing for similar dishes and to gauge customer willingness to pay based on the perceived quality, uniqueness, and overall dining experience offered. This balanced approach ensures that pricing is not only financially sustainable, but also competitive and aligned with customer expectations, fostering trust and repeat business. This aligns with general ethical business principles of transparency and fair dealing, which are implicitly expected in professional culinary environments. An incorrect approach that solely focuses on maximizing profit by setting prices significantly above food costs without considering market competition or perceived value is professionally unsound. This can lead to customer dissatisfaction, negative reviews, and a perception of being overpriced, ultimately harming the establishment's reputation and long-term success. Such a strategy can be seen as exploitative, failing to offer fair value to the customer. Another incorrect approach that relies exclusively on matching competitor prices without a proper understanding of one's own cost structure is equally problematic. This can lead to underpricing, resulting in insufficient profit margins or even losses, jeopardizing the financial health of the business. It demonstrates a lack of strategic planning and an abdication of responsibility for financial management. A third incorrect approach that bases pricing solely on the perceived luxury of ingredients without a corresponding enhancement in the overall dining experience or a justification through superior quality or preparation is also flawed. This can lead to a disconnect between price and value in the customer's mind, resulting in disappointment and a feeling of being misled. The professional decision-making process for menu pricing should involve a systematic evaluation. First, calculate the precise cost of each menu item, food cost. Second, factor in labor and overhead costs to determine the total cost of service. Third, research competitor pricing for comparable items to understand the market range. Fourth, Assess the perceived value of the dish, considering factors like ingredient quality, preparation complexity, presentation, and the overall dining ambience. Finally, set a price that reflects a fair profit margin while remaining competitive and aligned with the perceived value offered to the customer. This iterative process ensures that pricing decisions are informed, strategic, and ethically sound. Question 15. When evaluating a situation where raw chicken has inadvertently come into contact with a cutting board that was recently used for preparing a salad intended for a guest with a severe nut allergy, what is the most appropriate immediate course of action to prevent cross-contamination and ensure guest safety? Option A. Immediately stop all food preparation at that workstation. Discard any food items that may have come into contact with the cutting board or utensils used. Thoroughly sanitize the cutting board, all utensils, and the surrounding work area, and then resume preparation. Option B. Inform the kitchen staff about the incident and instruct them to be more careful. Then continue using the cutting board after a quick rinse. Option C. Immediately discard the raw chicken and the salad, and then proceed with preparing a new salad without further sanitization of the workstation. Option D. Discard the salad intended for the guest with the nut allergy and prepare a new one, assuming the risk is contained to that specific dish. The correct answer is A. Immediately stop all food preparation at that workstation. Discard any food items that may have come into contact with the cutting board or utensils used. Thoroughly sanitize the cutting board, all utensils, and the surrounding work area, and then resume preparation. Explanation. This scenario presents a common yet critical challenge in a professional kitchen, managing the risk of cross-contamination between raw animal products and ready-to-eat foods, specifically in the context of allergen management. The professional challenge lies in the immediate need to prevent a potentially severe health incident for a guest with a known allergy, while also upholding rigorous food safety standards for all patrons. The executive chef must make a swift, informed decision that prioritizes guest safety and regulatory compliance. The correct approach, which involves immediate isolation of the affected workstation and thorough sanitization, represents best professional practice because it directly addresses the identified risk with the most effective and immediate control measures. This aligns with fundamental principles of HACCP, hazard analysis and critical control points, and specific food safety regulations, such as those outlined by the FDA Food Code in the U.S., which mandate preventing cross-contamination. Ethically, it demonstrates a commitment to guest well-being and a proactive approach to allergen management, exceeding minimum legal requirements by acting decisively to mitigate harm. An incorrect approach that involves simply discarding the potentially contaminated food item without addressing the source of contamination is professionally unacceptable. This fails to prevent future occurrences and ignores the regulatory requirement to control hazards at their source. It also represents an ethical lapse by not fully rectifying the situation to prevent recurrence. Another incorrect approach, such as relying solely on verbal warnings to staff without implementing immediate physical controls, is also professionally unacceptable. While communication is important, it does not physically remove the hazard. This approach fails to meet regulatory mandates for physical separation and sanitization, and ethically, it places undue reliance on human memory and adherence, which can be fallible in a busy kitchen environment. A third incorrect approach, which involves continuing food preparation at the affected workstation after a brief visual inspection, but before thorough sanitization, is critically flawed. This demonstrates a disregard for established food safety protocols and regulatory requirements. It creates a high risk of continued contamination, potentially affecting multiple dishes and guests, and constitutes a significant ethical failure to protect public health. Professionals should employ a decision-making framework that prioritizes immediate risk assessment, followed by the implementation of the most effective control measures. This involves identifying the hazard, cross-contamination, assessing the risk potential for allergic reaction or foodborne illness, and implementing a corrective action that directly addresses the hazard and prevents recurrence. This framework, rooted in food safety principles and regulatory compliance, ensures that decisions are not only expedient, but also robust and protective of public health. Question 16. Governance review demonstrates a recurring pattern of pest sightings in the main kitchen area, despite ad hoc pest control interventions. As the certified executive chef, what is the most effective and professionally responsible approach to address this ongoing issue and prevent future infestations, ensuring compliance with general food safety and hygiene expectations. Option A. Assign a junior kitchen staff member to be solely responsible for monitoring and reporting pest activity, with minimal direct oversight from management. Option B. Document all pest sightings and immediately report them to management, while continuing current cleaning routines without significant changes. Option C. Develop and implement a comprehensive integrated pest management (IPM) program that includes regular sanitation audits, structural assessments for entry points, staff training on pest prevention, and a tiered approach to control methods, prioritizing non-chemical solutions. Option D. Increase the frequency of external pest control service calls, instructing them to apply stronger, more frequent chemical treatments throughout the kitchen. The correct answer is C. Develop and implement a comprehensive integrated pest management (IPM) program that includes regular sanitation audits, structural assessments for entry points, staff training on pest prevention, and a tiered approach to control methods, prioritizing non-chemical solutions. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in executive chef roles, balancing immediate operational needs with long-term preventative strategies. The pressure to maintain service continuity and cost-effectiveness can often lead to prioritizing reactive measures over proactive ones. A governance review highlighting a lack of comprehensive pest control protocols necessitates a shift in operational philosophy, demanding a proactive, integrated approach rather than a piecemeal, reactive one. The challenge lies in embedding these new practices into the daily routines of the kitchen team and ensuring consistent adherence across all shifts and personnel. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves developing and implementing a comprehensive, integrated pest management (IPM) program. This aligns with best practices in food safety and public health, which are implicitly governed by the principles of preventing contamination and ensuring consumer safety, core tenets for any certified executive chef. An IPM program focuses on prevention through sanitation, structural integrity, and environmental modification, using chemical interventions only as a last resort and under strict supervision. This proactive stance minimizes the risk of infestations, thereby safeguarding food quality, brand reputation, and compliance with general food safety standards that would be expected in any professional culinary environment. It demonstrates a commitment to due diligence and a holistic understanding of operational risk management. Incorrect approaches analysis. One incorrect approach is solely relying on reactive measures, such as calling pest control only when pests are visibly present. This fails to address the root causes of infestations and can lead to significant contamination risks, potential regulatory scrutiny for failing to maintain a safe environment, and damage to the establishment's reputation. Ethically, it represents a failure to adequately protect the public from potential health hazards. Another incorrect approach is implementing a pest control strategy that exclusively uses broad-spectrum chemical treatments without considering non-chemical alternatives or preventative measures. This can lead to food contamination, potential health risks for staff and patrons, and environmental concerns. It also often indicates a lack of understanding of modern, sustainable pest management principles and may violate guidelines that promote minimizing chemical use in food environments. A third incorrect approach is delegating pest control responsibilities entirely to external contractors without establishing clear internal protocols, regular monitoring, or staff training. While external expertise is valuable, the executive chef retains ultimate responsibility for the kitchen's hygiene and safety. Without internal oversight and integration, the effectiveness of external services can be compromised, leading to gaps in prevention and a failure to meet the expected standards of care and diligence. This can be seen as an abdication of professional responsibility. Professional reasoning. Professionals in this role should adopt a decision-making process that prioritizes prevention and integration. This involves 1. Risk assessment, regularly assessing potential pest entry points, food storage vulnerabilities, and sanitation gaps. 2. Integrated strategy development, creating a multifaceted plan that includes sanitation, structural repairs, employee training, and judicious use of pest control methods. 3. Staff engagement, educating and empowering the kitchen team to be vigilant and to follow established protocols. 4. Monitoring and evaluation, establishing a system for regular checks, record-keeping, and feedback to continuously improve the IPM program. 5. Vendor management, working collaboratively with pest control professionals, ensuring their methods align with the establishment's IPM strategy and food safety standards. Question 17. The audit findings indicate that the establishment's food recall procedures are not adequately defined, leading to potential delays in responding to a confirmed contamination event. Which of the following actions best represents a best practice approach to managing a food recall scenario, ensuring compliance with regulatory frameworks such as the FDA's Food Safety Modernization Act, FSMA? Option A. Delay the recall process to conduct a thorough internal investigation to pinpoint the exact source and extent of the contamination before notifying any external parties. Option B. Immediately initiate a full product recall, notify all relevant regulatory agencies, e.g., FDA, and begin tracing the affected product through the distribution chain while simultaneously investigating the root cause. Option C. Issue a public statement acknowledging a potential issue but deferring a formal recall until internal investigations are complete and a definitive cause is identified. Option D. Wait to initiate a recall until a significant number of customer complaints are received, then conduct a limited recall of products from the most affected retail locations. The correct answer is B. Immediately initiate a full product recall, notify all relevant regulatory agencies, e.g., FDA, and begin tracing the affected product through the distribution chain while simultaneously investigating the root cause. Explanation. Scenario analysis. The audit findings highlight a critical vulnerability in the establishment's food safety protocols, specifically concerning food recall procedures. This scenario is professionally challenging because a delayed or mishandled recall can have severe consequences, including public health crises, significant financial losses, reputational damage, and legal liabilities. The executive chef's judgment is paramount in swiftly and effectively mitigating these risks. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach prioritizes immediate notification of relevant authorities and affected parties, coupled with a thorough investigation, to identify the root cause and scope of the contamination. This aligns with best professional practices and regulatory mandates, such as those outlined by the FDA in the U.S., which emphasize prompt reporting and containment to protect public health. Ethical considerations also demand transparency and a proactive stance to prevent further harm. Incorrect approaches analysis. One incorrect approach involves delaying notification to gather more internal information. This failure violates regulatory requirements for timely reporting and demonstrates a lack of commitment to public safety. Ethically, it prioritizes the establishment's convenience over the well-being of consumers. Another incorrect approach is to only recall products from the immediate point of sale without considering broader distribution channels. This is a regulatory failure, as it fails to encompass all potentially affected products and consumers, thereby not fulfilling the recall's intended scope. It also represents an ethical lapse by not taking all necessary steps to prevent widespread illness. A third incorrect approach is to rely solely on customer complaints to initiate a recall. This reactive stance is insufficient and fails to meet the proactive standards expected of food safety professionals. Regulations often mandate internal monitoring and reporting mechanisms, and waiting for complaints can lead to significant delays, allowing contaminated products to reach a wider audience and increasing the risk of severe public health outcomes. Professional reasoning. Professionals should adopt a proactive and transparent approach to food recalls. This involves establishing clear, documented recall procedures that are regularly reviewed and practiced. Upon identifying a potential recall situation, the decision-making process should involve 1. Immediate assessment of the risk to public health. 2. Prompt communication with regulatory bodies, e.g., FDA, USDA in the U.S. 3. Comprehensive internal investigation to determine the scope of the issue. 4. Clear communication with distributors, retailers, and consumers. And 5. Thorough documentation of all actions taken. This systematic approach ensures compliance, protects consumers, and safeguards the establishment's integrity. Question 18. The evaluation methodology shows that during a peak service period, a batch of pan-seared scallops is consistently finishing slightly past the ideal al dente texture, resulting in a less desirable mouthfeel for a significant portion of orders. The executive chef needs to implement an immediate adjustment to the cooking process. Which of the following adjustments best addresses this implementation challenge while adhering to professional culinary standards? Option A. Reduce the searing time slightly and monitor the internal temperature more closely, ensuring the scallops reach a safe internal temperature without exceeding the point of optimal texture. Option B. Allow the scallops to rest for a longer period after searing to let the residual heat finish cooking them more gently. Option C. Focus solely on visual cues such as the opacity of the scallop's flesh to determine doneness, as this is a common indicator of proper cooking. Option D. Increase the heat of the pan to achieve a faster sear, assuming the increased heat will cook them through more quickly and compensate for the slight overcooking. The correct answer is A. Reduce the searing time slightly and monitor the internal temperature more closely, ensuring the scallops reach a safe internal temperature without exceeding the point of optimal texture. Explanation. The scenario presents a common challenge in high-volume, quality-focused culinary operations, maintaining consistent product integrity under pressure. The executive chef must balance the demands of rapid service with the fundamental principles of cooking techniques to ensure food safety, optimal flavor, and desired texture. This requires a deep understanding of how different cooking methods are affected by variations in temperature, time, and ingredient handling, and the ability to adapt without compromising standards. The professional challenge lies in making informed decisions that uphold the establishment's reputation and adhere to industry best practices, which are implicitly governed by food safety regulations and ethical commitments to quality. The correct approach demonstrates a thorough understanding of heat transfer and protein denaturation, recognizing that overcooking, even by a small margin, irrevocably alters texture and flavor. It prioritizes precise temperature control and minimal handling to preserve the integrity of the ingredients. This aligns with professional culinary ethics that emphasize delivering the highest quality product to the guest, and implicitly with food safety regulations that require food to be cooked to safe internal temperatures without becoming unpalatably overcooked. This approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes the guest experience and the integrity of the culinary craft, ensuring that the final product meets established quality benchmarks. An incorrect approach that relies on visual cues alone fails to account for the variability in internal temperature and can lead to undercooked or overcooked products, posing food safety risks and compromising quality. This is a regulatory failure, as it deviates from established food safety guidelines that mandate specific internal temperatures for different food types. Another incorrect approach that prioritizes speed over technique, such as aggressive searing that burns the exterior before the interior is cooked, leads to undesirable flavor profiles and textures, failing to meet professional standards of culinary execution. This is an ethical failure as it compromises the commitment to delivering a high-quality product. A third incorrect approach that involves excessive resting of cooked items before service can lead to a loss of moisture and a less appealing texture, again failing to meet professional quality expectations and potentially impacting food safety if temperature is not maintained. The professional decision-making process in such situations involves a systematic evaluation of the cooking technique's sensitivity to time and temperature, understanding the critical control points for food safety, and prioritizing the desired outcome for the dish. It requires anticipating potential issues and having predefined strategies to mitigate them, always referencing established culinary principles and food safety guidelines. Question 19. Governance review demonstrates that the establishment has experienced an increase in guest inquiries regarding specific dietary restrictions and allergies, including but not limited to gluten intolerance, dairy allergies, and vegan preferences. As the certified executive chef, what is the most comprehensive and professionally responsible approach to developing menus and kitchen protocols that effectively and safely address these diverse needs? Option A. Institute a strict, no substitutions policy for all menu items to simplify kitchen operations and minimize potential errors related to dietary modifications. Option B. Assume all ingredients are free from common allergens unless a guest explicitly states a specific allergy. Option C. Implement a rigorous system for documenting all guest dietary requests, ensuring clear communication between front-of-house and kitchen staff, and developing a comprehensive allergen matrix for all menu items. This includes staff training on cross-contamination prevention and ingredient sourcing verification. Option D. Rely on individual servers to communicate guest dietary needs to the kitchen based on their personal knowledge and understanding of ingredients. The correct answer is C. Implement a rigorous system for documenting all guest dietary requests, ensuring clear communication between front-of-house and kitchen staff, and developing a comprehensive allergen matrix for all menu items. This includes staff training on cross-contamination prevention and ingredient sourcing verification. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common yet critical challenge in professional culinary management, balancing diverse guest needs with operational realities and regulatory compliance. The challenge lies in ensuring that all guests, regardless of dietary restrictions or allergies, can dine safely and enjoyably without compromising the integrity of the establishment's offerings or its reputation. The executive chef must navigate potential cross-contamination risks, ingredient sourcing, staff training, and clear communication protocols. Failure to do so can lead to severe health consequences for guests and significant legal and financial repercussions for the establishment. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a proactive, systematic, and collaborative strategy. It begins with establishing clear, documented protocols for identifying, recording, and communicating dietary needs. This includes robust staff training on allergen awareness, safe food handling practices specific to dietary restrictions, and the importance of accurate ingredient labeling. The executive chef must work closely with suppliers to ensure ingredient transparency and establish a system for verifying the absence of allergens in all components. Menu development should incorporate naturally inclusive options and clearly label potential allergens. A designated point person or system for handling specific guest requests and communicating them effectively to the kitchen team is crucial. This approach aligns with the ethical obligation to guest safety and the implied warranty of providing safe food. While specific U.S. regulations like the Food Allergen Labeling and Consumer Protection Act, FALCPA, and state/local health codes mandate certain aspects of food safety and allergen information, the executive chef's role extends beyond mere compliance to a commitment to guest well-being and service excellence. This comprehensive strategy minimizes risk, builds trust, and upholds the professional standards expected of a certified executive chef. Incorrect approach is analysis. Relying solely on individual server knowledge is professionally unacceptable because it creates a high risk of miscommunication and error. Servers may not have comprehensive allergen training, may forget details, or may not be able to accurately convey complex dietary needs to the kitchen. This bypasses established safety protocols and places undue burden on front-of-house staff, increasing the likelihood of a critical oversight that could lead to an allergic reaction. This approach fails to meet the standard of care expected in food service and could violate health code requirements regarding accurate food information. Assuming all ingredients are free from common allergens, unless explicitly stated by the guest, is a dangerous and ethically unsound practice. Many ingredients, even those not typically associated with allergens, can be subject to cross-contamination during processing or preparation. This approach ignores the pervasive nature of allergens and the need for diligent sourcing and preparation. It represents a failure to implement a robust allergen management program and a disregard for guest safety, potentially leading to severe health consequences and legal liability. Implementing a no substitutions policy for all dietary requests is professionally limiting and ethically questionable. While some complex restrictions might necessitate limitations, a blanket policy prevents the establishment from catering to a wide range of common dietary needs, such as vegetarian, vegan, or gluten-free preferences that can often be accommodated with minor adjustments. This approach prioritizes operational simplicity over guest inclusivity and service, potentially alienating a significant portion of the customer base and failing to uphold the principle of providing excellent service to all patrons. It also misses opportunities to demonstrate culinary creativity and adaptability. Professional reasoning. Professionals should adopt a risk management framework that prioritizes guest safety and regulatory compliance. This involves a continuous cycle of assessment, planning, implementation, and review. Key steps include 1. Understanding the regulatory landscape, e.g., FDA guidelines, local health codes. 2. Conducting a thorough risk assessment of menu items and preparation processes for potential allergens and dietary conflicts. 3. Developing clear written standard operating procedures, SOP, for handling dietary requests, including communication, preparation, and service. 4. Investing in comprehensive and ongoing staff training for both kitchen and front-of-house personnel. 5. Establishing strong relationships with reliable suppliers who can provide accurate ingredient information. 6. Implementing a system for clear menu labeling and guest communication. 7. Regularly reviewing and updating protocols based on feedback, incidents, and evolving best practices. This systematic approach ensures that dietary considerations are managed effectively, ethically, and in accordance with all applicable regulations. Question 20. Strategic planning requires a robust framework for evaluating culinary staff performance and delivering feedback. As a certified executive chef, you are tasked with implementing a new performance review system. Considering the dynamic nature of a professional kitchen and the need for continuous improvement, which of the following approaches best balances objective assessment with constructive feedback to foster professional growth and maintain operational excellence? Option A. Implement a system that combines regular, documented one-on-one feedback sessions with periodic formal reviews, incorporating both objective performance metrics, e.g., waste reduction, adherence to recipes, and qualitative observations of skills, teamwork, and attitude. Option B. Conduct annual performance reviews that focus exclusively on identifying and detailing all perceived shortcomings and areas of failure, without acknowledging positive contributions or offering specific development plans. Option C. Rely on informal, ad hoc conversations during busy service periods to address performance issues as they arise, assuming staff will understand and adapt without formal documentation. Option D. Delegate all performance evaluation and feedback responsibilities to junior chefs and line cooks, intervening only in cases of severe disciplinary action to avoid direct confrontation. The correct answer is A. Implement a system that combines regular, documented one-on-one feedback sessions with periodic formal reviews, incorporating both objective performance metrics, e.g., waste reduction, adherence to recipes, and qualitative observations of skills, teamwork, and attitude. Explanation. This scenario presents a common implementation challenge in culinary leadership, effectively evaluating and providing feedback on staff performance in a high-pressure, dynamic kitchen environment. The challenge lies in balancing the need for objective assessment with the subjective nature of culinary skills, ensuring feedback is constructive, actionable, and aligned with professional standards and ethical conduct expected of a certified executive chef. The goal is to foster growth and maintain high operational standards without demotivating team members or creating an environment ripe for disputes. The correct approach emphasizes a structured, multifaceted feedback system that incorporates both objective metrics and qualitative observations, delivered through regular, documented conversations. This aligns with best professional practices for performance management, which are implicitly guided by the ethical responsibilities of a leader to their team and the establishment. Such a system promotes fairness, transparency, and continuous improvement, crucial for maintaining a high-performing culinary team and upholding the reputation associated with the certified executive chef designation. It also supports a culture of accountability and professional development, which are foundational to ethical leadership in the culinary industry. An incorrect approach that relies solely on informal, infrequent feedback fails to establish clear expectations or provide consistent guidance, potentially leading to misunderstanding and performance issues going unaddressed. This can create an environment where staff feel undervalued or unfairly treated, which is an ethical failure in leadership. Another incorrect approach that focuses only on negative aspects without acknowledging strengths or offering solutions is demotivating and unprofessional, hindering growth and potentially leading to staff turnover. This neglects the leader's ethical duty to support and develop their team. An approach that avoids difficult conversations altogether or provides vague feedback is a dereliction of duty, failing to uphold the standards expected of an executive chef and potentially exposing the establishment to risks associated with substandard performance. This represents a failure to act with integrity and professional responsibility. Professionals should adopt a decision-making framework that prioritizes clear communication, objective assessment where possible, and constructive, empathetic feedback. This involves setting clear performance expectations, regularly observing performance, documenting observations, and conducting structured feedback sessions that are balanced, specific, and actionable. The process should be a continuous dialogue, not a one-time event, fostering a culture of trust and mutual respect.